Hi guys, it's Quinn here. If you appreciate my content, consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm notices me. If you'd like to do more to keep this channel afloat, consider donating through the PayPal link in the description or checking out our Patreon. Thanks guys so much. So recently, I've been really taking my time, putting an emphasis on making long-form, well-researched content. But I also don't want to stop making shorter videos delving into certain concepts and books that I find to be interesting and compelling. Now, some of you might remember Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Today, I want to talk about another book of his called Cage of Souls. Cage of Souls, like Children of Time, is about so many things: ecology, lost, forgotten history, accelerated evolution, the idea that the Earth itself works as a living organism with motives. This book takes place in an unspecified time in the future where the Earth has been poisoned to the point where humanity now lives in a single city called Shadrapar. And outside the city, due to the expansion of the dying sun, much of the world has become desert, and some of it has become dense jungle full of rapidly changing ecology and creatures possessing intelligence that may rival human intelligence. So before we go any further, I want to talk about some specific concepts in this book. I'm not going to spoil the plot of it completely, but there will be some spoilers in this video, and if spoilers are a thing that you care about, probably click away until you've read this book. So, when I first picked up this book, I knew nothing about it. I had read Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time series and some other stuff by him, so I really loved his work. The one thing I did know about this book was that the main setting was a prison, so immediately in my head I thought, oh, this book is about a sci-fi prison break. That's not what this book is about. It's much more expansive and much more complex than that. The highlight of this book is the absolutely brilliant world building that Adrian Tchaikovsky pulls off. And the way that world is unveiled to us is highly effective. We start out as our main character, Stefan Advani, is being sent to the island, a prison in the middle of a jungle that kind of floats on water. It's kind of a prison boat that's huge that floats on water in the middle of a jungle. And there's really no hope of escape, because the jungle surrounding the prison is very, very inhospitable, full of monsters and terrifying creatures that evolve rapidly and have a taste for human flesh. So the beginning of this book, and a good chunk of this book, we follow Stefan at the prison, and little bits of information about the world outside are given to us by things that Stefan Advani says, because he's the narrator, and given to us through his interactions with other characters, until about a third through the book when we actually flash back to when Stefan was living in Shadrapar, and then our idea of the world and what it's like outside the prison really expands. We learn that basically everything that's happened to the Earth, we did it, which is an idea that's found in a lot of science fiction books, because I think that's kind of true, and that's kind of where things are headed. We can very clearly see in the real world the damage that we've done to the planet, and yet we keep going forward, and yet we're not really making significant, large-scale efforts to fix any of the looming problems. By the time that this book is taking place, it's already too late, at least for most of the Earth. Take the oceans, for instance. The oceans are black, oozing death. All life in the ocean has died. It is completely toxic to not only human life, but to all marine life. And the eerie thing about it is that it preserves the dead. We can see what we've done. All of the fish, all of the whales, all of the animals float to the surface, perfectly preserved by this chemical black ooze. And there's even human bodies floating on the surface, unlucky people that have fallen into the ocean or attempted to swim. There's a great quote in the book: "The sea is death's unchanging kingdom on earth, and it has no part in this story. My story is, despite all that has happened, one of hope, and there is no hope for the oceans." I mentioned that most of the earth is turning to desert, and the reason this is because of what is happening to the sun. The sun is expanding and dying, and it doesn't appear that this is a natural occurrence. It is suggested that the reason that this is happening is because of something that humans did in the past. Some historians even think we tinkered with the sun. You hear that? Some great golden age way back where everything ran off sunlight until there wasn't enough to go around, and so they fooled with the sun. And that's what our problem is now. Typical human stupidity. Nobody ever looks to tomorrow. Thank God we're on the edge of extinction. One concept in this book that I really loved was the idea that the Earth itself isn't really dying, it is changing. And it's not changing consciously, but sometimes large systems have emergent properties. In this book, the idea that the Earth operates as a living superorganism is brushed upon. And in its current cycle, the Earth is actively trying to get rid of humanity and introduce a new dominant species. The world is sick of us. It is turning over in its sleep, trying to come up with something to replace us. Evolution on winged feet. I didn't believe it, but I'm a bloody scientist. I'm the last real scientist on Earth. When the evidence says something strongly enough, you have to believe it. Even though it goes against everything all the ancients ever wrote. Bugger the ancients. They got us into this mess in the first place. Evolution, all that slow struggle, generation to generation, millions of years, all that out the window. The Earth knows it hasn't got much time left. It has thrown the whole machine into high gear. And you know what it's after? Intelligence. You'd think it had enough of the damn stuff after our messing around. But the evolution mill is grinding towards intelligence. Everywhere you look, there's something doing an impression of it. Everything is trying to be smarter. Intelligence could maybe just save life on this planet. That's why the web children. That's why a lot of things. So this concept is fascinating to me. The Earth, operating as a superorganism, somehow realizes that it's dying. And in reaction to this, it is trying to produce intelligence because it knows that intelligence is the only potential way that it can continue to exist. Somehow the Earth knows that if it produces something smart enough, maybe the problems with the sun can be fixed. Now, this brings us to the web children. Now, I found the web children to be one of the most interesting parts of this book, and I actually wish the book could have spent a little bit more time on the web children because I would have loved a deeper exploration. So, the web children inhabit the jungle surrounding the prison referred to as the island. The interesting thing about the web children is though they resemble humans, they did not evolve from us. They are not an offshoot of us in any way, shape, or form. Humans and the web children are in fact convergent evolutionary species, which essentially means that side by side we developed similar traits. Now, of course, the web children are a lot newer than humanity, and they're only here due to the expanded, accelerated evolution of the jungles. The web children. Always the web children. They were said to be like fish, but others said like frogs, and still others said they could pass for humans if they tried, except for their eyes, too wide and never blinking. There were folds of skin between those toes, and between the equally long and clever fingers that were unlike a man's, the forefinger being the longest and the others declining in size to form a webbed fan with only the thumb free. It was impossible to tell if they were male or female, or if the distinction held any meaning for them. If they were children of the damned, spawned here where the canopy obscured even the view of God. So, ultimately the characterization of them is different, but the web children immediately evoke for me the sense of the deep ones from H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. And this is just based mostly on appearance because they are definitely framed and characterized differently in this book. In this book, Tchaikovsky uses the web children to explore the what if of convergent evolution and accelerated evolution. The web children definitely have their creepy moments though, and other creatures in the jungle as well. There is a particular scene with a speaking salamander that crawls up from the depths that is particularly horrifying to me. It's really great stuff. And again, all of this accelerated evolution is due to humanity possibly tinkering with the sun, ruining it, causing a catastrophe, and never being able to regain the ability to fix the sun. Now, this brings me to another awesome element of the book, which I love, which is forgotten history. Now, this to me is very Book of the New Sun, Gene Wolfe, but that's a whole other bag of cookies that we're not going to open right now. So, in Cage of Souls, we learn that long ago, during a time period called the First Genesis, mankind reached a zenith of technological progression. We built huge structures like the pyramids and giant cities, and then something happened. We collapsed inward on ourselves, and we haven't been able to get back up since then. And that is what has led to the Cage of Souls era, where mankind is down to the last city and the entire earth is poisoned. And it's not just history that is forgotten, it is eons of knowledge and science that is also completely lost. There's really a lot to explore in this book, but the last thing for this video is I want to talk about what happens to humanity culturally in this book. For one, the Church of the Wasted God becomes a thing, and they have these nuns called the Nuns of the Wasted Order, and these people essentially believe that God is either dying or already dead. They seem to at least be somewhat anti-science and anti-knowledge, as if knowing itself breaks the universe, as if trying to understand God's creation is what is poisoning God, what is killing God. Most outrageous sin! For is it not known that the end of the world is brought nearer every time these men of letters unravel yet another piece of it? Is it not the truth that the world grows tired of their constant questioning? Sin, I say, nothing but sin which is rank in the nostrils of God. If we are to save ourselves, we must cast these false teachers, these pedants and searchers, and evil men who seek to know. They pick at the fabric of the world and decay it with their never-ending questions. God does not intend us to question his creation. God will return to his full health only when these men of sin and science have been purged from the ranks of the right and cast into the barren spaces. So what I love about this is I can see the roots of the formation of the Church of the Wasted God. Science technically did destroy the planet. It was misuse of science, but it was science that did it. And also, the book mentions that many images of God depict him as an old man. So they can easily, as far as symbols go, make that transition from God being an old man to a dying man. So it just works symbolically. And lastly, among the portion of them that believe that God is not dead, but dying, there is an element of hope there. He is dying, but not dead. So perhaps he could be healed if we simply stop tearing at the fabric of reality with this science that has led us to this devastating dystopia. Religions need that element of hope. The world is difficult now, but if you obey God and you follow the tenets of your religion, you will prevail in the end. That is the idea. It also seems likely that the Order of the Wasted God has influenced the culture of the last peoples of Shadrapar, because Shadrapar itself is very anti-knowledge, very anti-science. They send people to the island if they cause a stir by unveiling new knowledge. It's very anti-learning, and the people of Shadrapar in general are very ignorant of most things outside of their city. So there's so much in this book that I didn't talk about, and maybe I'll talk about in future videos. Stuff like time traveling, synthetic human beings, the underworld of Shadrapar, which is literally under the ground, and the Mazans, the people that used to inhabit a city deep underground that lost power eons ago and they evolved into monsters. There's so much in this book. It is a true sci-fi adventure novel that's also intelligent and fun. I had a lot of fun with this one, and I'm looking forward to reading more Adrian Tchaikovsky in the future and covering more of it on this channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, so I'm going to let you in on my bonus theory. So in this book, it says that long ago, humankind went to the stars and seeded the stars with creatures like them and set out to meet them. I think that could be referencing Children of Time and what happened in Children of Time. So that would mean that Cage of Souls is actually in the distant future of Children of Time, but it's just what happened on Earth. Definitely a possibility. Let me know what you guys think. Peace out. As I said, you can check out our Patreon if you would like to support this channel or use the PayPal link in the description. Thanks, guys. And don't forget to check out my brand new podcast, the Cosmic Chronicles podcast. I've been having a lot of fun with my co-host James talking about various sci-fi ideas and books and movies that I love and enjoy. Check it out, link in the description.